All right, so lesson 6, dative case. All right, so the dative case is the indirect object. And the indirect object answers the question to or for whom, or in another way, it receives the direct object. All right, so I shall give money to the girl. I is the subject, so that's going to be nominative. Money receives the action, that's a direct object, so that's going to be accusative. But what receives the money? And this is going to be what's called the indirect object. And so when they will show the road to the servant, they is nominative, it's a subject. Here's your verb. This is going to be accusative because it's a direct object. And then this will be dative because it receives the direct object, making it the indirect object. Now, for our purposes, and more specifically for the National Latin exam, there are 5 words that when you see, I want you to think of the dative. Four of these are in the vocab for this lesson, and another one will be a little bit later. But when you see any form of these words on the National Latin exam, look for something that's dative. Now, the endings for these, I'm going to start with red for the stem. So you may notice now that we have 3 AEs. So how do you figure that out? So with this one, the verb has to end in NT for that to be the subject. For dative, you need one of the dative trigger words above. And then genitive is not the others. And then a quick recap of their functions. Nominative is subject, genitive is possession, and you got for apostrophe S. Dative is indirect object, to or for. And accusative is a direct object, receives the verb. All right. Now on this guy, again, I'm going to give you the stem. And we'll work on a mnemonic, something to remember all these endings once we get to ablative. So seeing these guys in sentences, find the verb, there's our verb, and it just happens to be a trigger word for dative. So we should be cognizant or aware that a dative is coming. I am giving because the O is I. And this right here, the long is our dative. Dative trigger word right there. RT is he, she, or it, which is going to be the queen. And then dative 2 or 4. Alright, so RT is the farmer. And then Mondo is a trigger word for dative, but we have 2 words that could be dative, servo or puelli. So now we just need to use the context here. So the farmer entrusts the life. And since we have a servo, that's definitely dative right there. We know that puelli makes sense to make it genitive. Alright, so the rest of these guys, try on your own or work with the video. The girl entrusts the letter to the servant. Now, letters has an A, B, C, and D, but if you make it plural, it can be a letter that you write, like epistola, which is why I translated it singular here. Servant, US, nominative singular, is pointing out the new lands or the strange lands to the sun. Dative trigger word. The girl gives the letter to the friend. Agricola, the farmer. Mandat, Willem. On a verb there, O is I. Then this AE is matching, or that AM is matching up with that AM. Bonum to aquam, so good water. The servant announces the victory to the queen. And we got 2 AEs here. We don't have a trigger word for dative. And that T is singular, so it can't be nominative. So we got a double genitive. The story of the victory of the queen, or of the queen's victory. Was great. All right, with this AE, same deal. No trigger word, and that's singular. A is matched with girl. Let's match with that. Then this is going with that the daughter. Loves the good horse. All right, so that's introduction to dative. If you have any questions, let me know, but we'll keep learning about it.